Yes, it was definitely, I like that term, entrepreneurial leadership, definitely super scrappy. And I think those two are definitely the two places where it was the most impacted. So the first was product development, and our process for product development really does rely on being in person, right? Like to be able to launch a cookie, you need to be able to taste it and you need to be able to kind of see it and touch it and feel it. And this was right at the height of the shutdown where we couldn't do anything, where there were, not even like some safe options to do. Like we were just not going in anywhere. And so this was happening mid lockdown. And essentially, what we had to do was really reinvent our process for product innovation and also sort of think about what we could leverage of existing knowledge. Like, if we can't immediately go in and kind of test and learn with new sort of product materials, what can we take from previous launches that we know worked well? We also couldn't do consumer validation or consumer testing during this because there wasn't at the moment a way to safely get product to consumers. Obviously, you can't do in-person focus groups. And so we also had to rethink, how do you either rethink how you're doing that consumer feedback, or how do you lean in and take the risk? And so we did do a little bit of leaning in and kind of relying on what we had learned from past product innovations, past from flavors to colors, really kind of pulling from existing knowledge and being able to pull those things together without doing it in person. So it actually really worked really well. I think also just huge kudos to everyone who works in our manufacturing line as well, because we did have unique embossments on the cookie also, which is also, it seems like a very simple thing, but to be able to change the embossments on the cookie is really quite an ordeal, and making sure that there's no breakage and cracking and doing that kind of remote for those of us who weren't directly on the line was definitely really having to trust the team as well. So I would say a lot of trust, a lot of learning from past executions, and really being able to rely on that. Those are the things that really helped us get to the place we needed from a product development standpoint. Then I'd say the second thing was PR. So I think traditionally for something like this, you would want to do, something that's in person or something that's kind of a little bit out of home, experiential. You really want to have all of those elements be able to come together and be able to use all of those levers, but a lot of those weren't options for us. And what was really interesting about this campaign as well is we also had this massive logistic sort of backdrop, right? Like during COVID, all of the shipping sort of schedules were changed and different. You kind of had to be a little bit nimble and flexible as well. So we have a very broad manufacturing and shipping network. And as we think about news like this, we really want to own the news. And so we wanted to be the first to really announce this partnership. We didn't want it to leak. And when you have these massive sort of networks, it's very difficult actually to really control any leaks. And so we knew that we needed to go out early with the news. So we did. So we launched the news in December, but the product wasn't supposed to be on shelf until February. So you have this big gap of time that you kind of have to keep the news going, keep the momentum, keep it relevant, keep it exciting all the way until people can actually buy, and you can then have the business result that you're looking for in the end. And so we knew that was going to be a challenge for us going into this. So we knew having a really big PR push right before they're actually on shelf was going to be really critical. And so what we'd planned at the beginning of this was something that relied on a physical event, whether it was a scavenger hunt that was to take place in person, or hiding autographed packs of Lady Gaga cookies in out of aisle places in stores. That was kind of our original plan. And then realizing that the pandemic had gotten to a place of it would be irresponsible to do something like that, we knew we needed to pivot. And that's when we actually decided to take the scavenger hunt online to Twitter. And it actually ended up being more successful than we could have ever imagined. We trended in the top 10. We actually trended twice with this campaign on Twitter, once at the launch and then the second time with the cookie hunt. So it actually ended up being a really great learning for pandemic or otherwise, just thinking about how you can do fully digital social PR pushes. So really great learnings, and definitely lots of pivots that happened to get there.